Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what would happen if Deku was born in Gear 5. Now, I know for right now, I have been dropping so many My Hero Academia what ifs, and in part, that's because honestly, I've kind of been running dry for Naruto ideas. But one good news, a lot of you guys, and I really do mean a lot of you guys, have been begging for the What If Naruto Was Gojo's Reincarnation movie to drop. So I'm going to be scripting that one, and I'm thinking that the whole thing itself is probably going to be heavily scripted, so I can actually drop a masterpiece for you guys. So while I'm in the process of doing that, I'm going to probably end up dropping 2 other movie parts for you guys for My Hero while I'm scripting this Naruto one, which will probably be 1 hour to 2 hours long. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, for now, enjoy this video that I have for you guys. Leave a like on the video and comment down below what your ideas are for part 2. But with that being said, enjoy. Alright, before we begin this story, I just want to preface this by saying I have not scripted this at all. Like, I was going to, but the more that I was trying to script out ideas to make part 1 seem cool, the less I ended up finding it fun for me to do. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, wait, like, Izuku's gonna be way too busted from the start. Like, how am I supposed to write an appealing story when Izuku's gonna be able to have reality warping abilities? This dude's literally gonna be born with Toon Force and all of the abilities that Luffy has at the start. He's gonna be straight up way too busted for me to even like think of starting to write up some convoluted story with plot lines. So just to let you guys know, this is kind of going to be one of those turn your brain off and just listen while you wash the dishes, while you mow the lawn, while you do your homework type of videos. You feel me? So with that said, boys, yeah, enjoy. Anyways, this whole story begins with Izuku at the Quirk Hospital, right? The second that he's born, Izuku would be born with his usual green and black hair. But for some reason, and this is gonna sound really dark, Deku is straight up born dead. He comes out of his mother's womb like he's not breathing. His heart completely stopped. And Inko and Isashi and all the doctors are sad. Like, the doctors are saddened, and Inko's crying because she's holding her baby who literally didn't even get to begin his life. But as that happens, the hospital would actually start shaking and the lights would start like glittering, like they start like going on and off. And then suddenly, from Inko's position where she's holding the young baby, you would just start hearing the sounds of the drums of liberation coming from Izuku's heart. It starts thumping louder and louder and louder until finally it gets so unbelievably loud that Izuku's hair starts to change, and a transformation would occur where Izuku's hair just turns completely white. His pupil color just goes yellow, and Izuku now has these bright yellow eyes with this really cool white flowing hair that just looks so unbelievably cartoonish. It would be in this moment that the doctors would be shocked at what just happened, saying that his quirk must have manifested and that might have just saved his life. Pretty much going on to say that when Izuku was born, he accidentally probably was choking on the umbilical cord, and that's why he came out like this. So instead of Izuku going his whole life believing that he had some sort of elasticity quirk, or a quirk where he has the abilities much to like other stories that I've done, because I have done What If Deku Was Luffy's Reincarnation. But this time around, it's What If Deku had Gear 5. So I needed to give him Gear 5 at the beginning of the story by making it believable and also kind of making it make sense. My bad. The whole nature of this quirk is going to be coming due to the fact that he is going to be the reincarnation of Luffy in the My Hero Academia world. So he's not necessarily going to be having a quirk, but it is gonna be like counted as a quirk, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But anyways, after this would happen, Izuku would literally just start like this baby is not crying. He straight up just has a big bright smile, and whenever he's not smiling, he's asleep, and he's sleeping with a smile. So this is like the happiest baby ever. And as Izuku grows up, it kind of just stays like that. Everywhere that this dude goes in, the room immediately lights up. And he is just so popular because he is literally the nicest, the freest kid ever. He's always laughing, and it would get on the nerves of some people, but it would just eventually grow on you. And Izuku is just so unbelievably likable. He's like the light of the world. This dude is freedom incarnate. And because of that, Izuku would grow up, and at first, a character much like Katsuki Bakugo would really dislike Deku. But here's the kicker. After hanging out around him a little bit, and Izuku eventually going up to him and asking him, you know, what's up? Bakugo's all like, I don't like you, and da 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 da, and like he even tries to fight Deku, but Deku's just like, dude, your quirk is so cool. He's like, does it work like this? And Izuku proceeds to literally like mimic Bakugo's quirk explosion, not like literally using an explosion, but doing something similar to it within the range of his abilities. This would lead Bakugo to being like, what the heck? Because Izuku would have literally grabbed an explosion from Bakugo's hand and shot it back out, like looking really, really cool. So now Bakugo was just like, dude, what the heck did you just do? Izuku from here would go on to be like, you could use your ability in so many cool ways. You could do this, this, and this. That's awesome. And like you would just have like this scene where Izuku's just like slowly rubbing off on Bakugo. Mind you, Bakugo's not just instantly gonna start liking Deku, but because Izuku's just like never once mean to him, and he's never once being like, oh, I'm better than you. He's never done that. Eventually, like, it's inevitable. Bakugo just ends up liking Izuku, and and believe it or not, they end up pretty much becoming best friends throughout their younger years. So the entirety of like the first events of the My Hero Academia story, leading up to the events of the classroom where the teacher tells them like, what do they want to do when they grow up, and he eventually says that they all want to become heroes, that all takes place just like you guys would expect. Now, the first change that we actually get to the story, as in like fight wise or villain wise, would be when we get the introduction of the sludge villain, right? Just like in the original, Izuku would still take that path home just because he was like, I've never walked this way, I might as well check it out, see what's up. So he makes his way over towards the direction of like where he meets the sludge villain, and just like in the original, as Izuku would be laughing, mimicking his favorite #1 hero All Might, and even changing his face to look like him, Izuku would turn to see this gigantic sludge monster about to completely consume him. As Izuku would just turn to the sludge monster with the biggest smile he could muster, grabbing it by the cheeks before he starts extending it and playing with it like it was literal slime. At this point, Izuku would start bouncing the sludge villain like a ball and telling him that his quirk is so awesome, saying that he probably shouldn't be a villain, literally just playing with him as he's just laughing. He's maniacally laughing as he's doing this, and the sludge villain is literally starting to get wheezy, like he's starting to literally feel like throwing up even though he doesn't even have a body. As Izuku's doing this, you would suddenly see All Might coming in from the background, as he would finally end up revealing himself, and he would say, I am here, you know, just like he does in the original, right? After this, Izuku turning towards the direction of All Might would be like, All Might! And he just gets like super excited as he throws the sludge villain at the wall. Have you guys ever been walking through the mall and like you see those splat balls where like it's like a pig or like an eye or something like that, and you'll throw it at like a glass and it'll like splat everywhere? That's what he did to the sludge villain, as he runs up to him and just starts shaking his hands, asking him if he can fight him. As All Might's just like, wait, what? Like, dude, like this kid, why is this kid asking to fight me? And you know, Izuku's just sitting there with the biggest smile you could possibly imagine, as he's like, hey, come on, hit me right here, All Might. As from here, All Might's like, I can't exactly do that, young man. But Izuku's just like, he's not letting up, you know what I mean? Like he straight up just wants to fight All Might. And so this would eventually lead to All Might like being like, wait, did you handle the sludge villain kid? As Izuku, like, he's like, oh yeah, that guy over there, yeah, I used my quirk on him, sorry about that, All Might. As All Might would let out a laughter, being like, you know, like the way that I can't even do it because the dude has such a deep and high voice all at the same time, it makes no sense. But he just lets out his iconic laugh as he proceeds to like pat Izuku on the back and tell him that he's a really interesting kid. As from here, he goes on to bottle the sludge villain, and Izuku says, I can help with that, as he grabs the sludge villain and shapes him into the shape of the bottle perfectly, shoving him in there, as All Might would just sit there and be like, wow, this kid's quirk is something else, asking him what his quirk is. As Izuku would say that originally they thought it was some sort of elasticity quirk where he could just stretch really far, but now he's starting to think it might be reality warping, because he can pretty much do whatever he wants whenever he wants. Does he want to turn somebody into a literal human basketball? He can do it. Does he want to jump up in the sky and grab lightning and throw it at somebody? He can do that too. Does he want to turn himself into a giant and start stomping on everything? He can do that too. Izuku can literally do anything you can think of. Anything. And this would just lead All Might to being absolutely floored, being like, kid, like that sounds incredible, can you show me? As from here, All Might would go on to like be so distracted by how interesting Izuku is that he doesn't even remember the fact that he has a time limit. So as he's talking to Izuku, All Might literally de-transforms into a Small Might form, as Izuku would look at him, give him a weird look of confusion as his laughter just stops, and he asks him, what's up with that? As he points straight to the injury that All Might has, and All Might goes on to explain that a long time ago, he was injured by a villain. As from here, Izuku says, oh right, Chainsaw Man, I read all about that. As All Might would say, you know your stuff, kid, but no, it's actually another villain. As he goes on to explain the whole plot of All for One, and Izuku says, so you turn into this form because of this injury right here? As Izuku, grabbing onto All Might's stomach, proceeds to literally start stretching his body out in such a way that the injury just kind of goes away. Like he literally stretches it out of him as if All Might was gum itself. He starts doing that to All Might, turning his body elastic as well, as he would literally heal All Might. Like that's as simple as I can put it. All Might gets fully healed, and from here All Might can feel himself. He's like, it worked. Like I don't feel myself having the ability to go back into my Small Might form. He thanks the kid and tells him and asks him if he would like to be a successor. As Izuku, hearing this, would pretty much say that sounds tempting, but he's gonna have to pass. He doesn't think he could handle any more power than this. So All Might, even though he would be a bit disappointed, would say, well, he doesn't really need a successor for now since he's gonna be continuing his hero duties now. As Izuku would say, that's great, All Might. As All Might would go on to say, well, I guess I'm only gonna be working at UA for 1 year. And Izuku would be like, what do you mean working at UA? As All Might says that he had planned to search for a successor at UA since, you know, he couldn't stay in his strong quirk form for long. And Izuku would go on to say, well, if he is looking for a successor, he knows someone who might be of help. As from here, he would go on to pretty much like ask All Might if he's willing to come with him somewhere. And so you would just see this kid with white hair who's flowing, laughing about as they're walking down the streets, and everyone's looking at him and they're like, is that All Might? Is that All Might? And everyone's just like staring at them, you know? And Izuku's like, all right, we're here. And they're outside of the Katsuki residence now, like they're outside of his house. From here, Izuku knocks on the door and you would just see Mitsuki be like, hey, what the heck do you want? As you know, she opens the door. From here, Izuku goes, look, it's All Might. As she's like, Katsuki, get down here. You know, Bakugo comes down. He's like, what do you want, you old hag? As you know, he makes his way down, and then suddenly you would just see Bakugo being like, All Might, what are you doing here? You know, you would just get like a really like cliche anime scene where it's like the main character, like the character stuttering and all that stuff. Just picture that in your heads. That's pretty much what goes down, right? After that would take place, you would pretty much just get Izuku and All Might breaking down the situation and telling Bakugo that if he wants to be the successor after he graduates from UA, he might be able to hand him One for All, explaining the nature of the quirk and how he's going to be so much stronger with it. As Bakugo just instantly accepts and so decides that he's now going to do his best to become an even stronger hero, right? As he goes on to ask Izuku why exactly he didn't take it, as Izuku says, if I want those powers, I'll just borrow them from you for a bit. And Bakugo would be like, fair enough. All right, well, how do we get started? As this would begin the 10-month training course, but as Bakugo's out there doing this rigorous training with All Might, like doing his best to get stronger, Izuku would kind of just be at home doing whatever he wants, attending random sports events, like literally just like going around it. Like, I don't even know what this dude is up to, bro. Like he's just living his life. Anytime he feels like doing something, he does it. Anytime he feels like going anywhere, he goes. You know what I mean? Like this dude is so free. He does whatever and whatever he wants whenever he wants, you know? And after this would happen, we would pretty much get I gotta think about this for a bit, honestly, because like I said, I haven't scripted this video, so I don't even know where I'm going with this. What do I even want to happen? All right, we could just get into the actual not the sports festival. What's the next event? The school entrance exam. The entrance exam. Yeah, perfect. The entrance exam. Okay, give me a second, boys, because I need a straight up UA timeline. Because I'm over here for some reason. I'm just blanking. I have this one website that I use whenever I need to. There it is. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the entrance exam mark. So so obviously to this point we've covered the events of the sludge villain. Obviously we didn't exactly get to see the Kamui Woods incident, which, bro, that low-key would have been such a cool spot to start this what if on. Dude, I should have 100% made note of that, but you know, it is what it is. Izuku would have handled the gigantic villain anyways. I mean, if Mount Lady could do it, then Izuku definitely could. But with that being said, we would pretty much get the entrance exam events going down, and Izuku, being the character that he is, would still be incredibly intelligent. So even if he wasn't, he could like stretch his neck out to cheat off of other people's tests. So regardless, this dude's gonna pass with flying colors. And after the written portion of the test would be over, we would finally have them all take the robot section of the test. Izuku would be out there waiting, literally bouncing around, like jumping up and down. The ground underneath him is trampoline like, and everybody watching this would be like, what kind of quirk is that? Is he able to turn things around himself into like super like elastic surfaces? Like, is he able to pretty much turn everything around him into like rubber? But this would lead everybody to like be staring at him as he's just super excited, when suddenly you would just see Present Mike up in the audio being like, what are you guys doing? There's no countdowns in a real fight, as he tells them go, 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 and like everybody just makes their way towards the robots. Izuku would instantly have a huge smile on his face as he would catapult himself straight into the air before then stretching his arms so high into the sky, balling them up and then leaving them to smash down like a sledgehammer as he would crush a robot instantly. From here, landing on the ground, Izuku would begin jumping all over the place as stretching his limbs as far as he can. He would proceed to throw a bunch of Gomu Gomu Gatling punches as Izuku would continue breaking out into laughter, and everybody would be watching as this student, like this random kid, is over here laughing pretty much like the Joker, just destroying a bunch of robots, and they're all wondering like what the heck they're doing here. Like, this kid clearly belongs in UA and they don't stack up to him at all. So you would just get this scene where a bunch of like students literally just look down and they just walk out of there. They're just like, yep, I don't belong in this school. And so Izuku would continue destroying robot after robot after robot until finally the zero pointer would be unveiled, which at this point Izuku would proceed to rush in as fast as he can towards the zero pointer, as slowly every single one of his limbs would begin expanding as fast as they can, his stomach growing literally 20 times its size as he turns into a gigantic balloon before a bunch of like air would start shooting out of him, and he would start looking like one of those random if you guys ever driven by a car wash and then you'll see those random like inflatable things that just wait, like they just flop everywhere, that's what Izuku would do before then holding both hands in front of him. His eyes would glow red for a second and looking up at the sludgeville, I mean at the zero pointer. Izuku from here would proceed to grab the 0 point robot and smash its head in with both of his hands, clapping it, leaving the 0 pointer's head to literally turn into a tortilla standing up. From here, he would go on to grab the 0 pointer by the arm and leg and start using it as a jump rope, as Izuku would start having so much fun with it before finally yanking his arm back and throwing it straight into the stratosphere, leaving the 0 pointer, which mind you is like 100 meters tall, thrown into the air, where the 0 pointer would proceed to literally float into space. And seeing this, dude, Nezu saw everything he needed to see. That kid is going to be in this school. In fact, he needs him to be in this school. And as this would all be happening, you would just see all the teachers there, like all the pro heroes. They're just like, dude, like, we need this kid to become a hero as soon as possible. Like, this kid has to be our top priority. Like, what he just did was absolutely insane, and they need to find out more about his quirk. From here, Nezu would go on to start reading his file, being like, he has a quirk called reality manipulation. This would lead Izuku to kind of like close both of his palms together before contemplating how exactly he should go on about like explaining to Izuku that he passed, because bro, he's not about to just send him a letter. Like, Nezu's gonna pull up to his house personally. And so the very next day after Izuku would go home with a big bright smile like always, you would just hear a knock at the door, as it would be Aizawa, who looks like super sad and like he doesn't want to be there. And it would also be Nezu right underneath him. This dude is like 3 feet tall, and he's just like, hello there, my name is Nezu. Like, he goes on to like a shake Inko's hand, as Aizawa would go on and pretty much explain that they're here to speak with Izuku Midoriya. She's all like, yeah, I'll get my son. As she proceeds to be like, Izuku, can you come down here? As you would see Izuku race down the stairs, as finally he can see Nezu and Aizawa. They're like, hey mom, who are they? As from here, they go on to explain that not only did he pass, but this dude broke record upon record upon record, and they would like to personally take care of all the expenses that he's going to be having while he's staying at UA. That includes their rent and all the things that they use in terms of like to live, like their food, their clothes, like their entertainment, their going out shopping, all of that stuff's gonna be covered by the school. This would lead Izuku to having a big bright smile, shaking Nezu's hand, being like, thanks so much. As he turns to Aizawa, seeing that, he's kind of upset, grabbing his face and proceeding to basically force Aizawa into a smile for slapping his knee and be like, sorry, you just look pretty tired. As from here, Aizawa would say, that's because I am. As, you would just get this contrast of Aizawa and Izuku, as he's like, well, guess I'll see you in class, teach. As after this would go down, we would pretty much just get another scene happening where Bakugo's currently talking to All Might. After all the testing period would be over and like about a week would pass, All Might would go on to explain to Bakugo why he hasn't been talking to him and would tell him that he's actually going to be attending UA once more, before then explaining that he got super busy with everything and his whole hero work has been getting in the way, since now that he's healed thanks to Izuku, he's able to be a full-time hero. So he's going to be retiring in approximately 3 years, which is when Katsuki Bakugo will finally be able to graduate from UA. So this would lead to Bakugo looking towards All Might and telling him that he's gonna promise to surpass him in every way by the time he's out of the school, telling him that all for one quirk, that one for all quirk is just gonna be the cherry on top. And All Might would look at him before giving him a big bright smile, saying, I hope so, young man. As the screen would pretty much just zoom back over towards the direction of Izuku, who has the biggest and brightest smile, as he's holding both of his straps to his backpack and will be standing right in front of his very own Hero Academia.
I am here! Thanking you for making it to the end of the video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and share it with a friend, and stay plus ultra!